The night air in Yellowstone was thick with the chill of early pandemic lockdown, when the world had shuttered itself indoors and left the wild to reclaim its edges. Deep in the back country, far from the closed visitor center and patrolled roads, a homeless man named Jed huddled in his tattered tent. He'd scavenged enough booze from abandoned campsites to drown the isolation, cheap whiskey that burned going down and blurred the edges of his despair. The bottle lay half empty beside him as he slurred a forgotten tune, his snores ragged against the rustle of pine needles. The bear came without warning. A grizzly, massive and starved by the unnatural quiet of the park. Its fur matted with burrs and old blood, it smelled the human reek. Sweat, alcohol, vulnerability, and charged. The tent fabric shredded like paper under its claws, poles snapping as the beast's weight crashed down. Jed jolted awake, his scream a wet gurgle as the bear's jaws clamped onto his shoulder. Pain exploded through him, sharp and surreal, the whiskey dulling nothing now. "No, God, no!" he gasped, flailing with feeble arms. The grizzly shook him like a rag doll, tearing flesh from bone. Jed's legs kicked wildly, his hands clawing at the beast's snout, but it was futile. Warm blood sprayed across the nylon ruins, soaking into the dirt. The bear pinned him, its hot breath reeking of decay, and began to feed. Jed was still alive when the first bites came, ripping into his abdomen, exposing coils of intestine that steamed in the cold air. He howled, a primal sound that echoed through the empty trails, his vision tunneling as agony consumed him. The bear chewed methodically, ignoring his weakening thrashes, until Jed's cries faded to whimpers, then silence. Only the wet smacks of feeding remained. What's up, guys and gals? Iceman here. Welcome to Horrors of the North. This is my new YouTube channel, so like this video and subscribe to the page. These are the best horror stories on YouTube, so let's get into it. Miles away, in the dim glow of her motorcycle's headlight, Claire throttled down the empty highway toward Yellowstone's northern entrance. At 22, with fiery red hair cascading from under her helmet and a figure that turned heads even in leather riding gear, she was a vision of defiant youth. The pandemic had stolen her college semester, her part-time job, her sense of normalcy. "Screw the rules," she'd muttered to herself that morning, packing her Glock 17 into her backpack. The parks were closed to curb the spread, but who would know? She needed the escape, the roar of her bike, the solitude of forbidden trails. She parked her motorcycle in a shadowed pullout, killing the engine and listening to the vast silence. The moon hung low, casting silver light over the pines. Slinging her pack over her shoulders, Claire slipped past the barricades, her boots crunching softly on the gravel path. The night enveloped her, alive with distant howls and the whisper of wind. It felt exhilarating, illicit, a middle finger to the quarantined world. As she ventured deeper, illegally trekking off trail toward a rumored hot spring, an acrid stench hit her nostrils. Piss, sharp and ammoniac, mixed with something metallic and foul. Claire wrinkled her nose, flashlight beam sweeping the underbrush. There, in a small clearing, lay the wreckage. A tent collapsed like a deflated lung. Smeared with dark stains, her heart quickened. "What the hell?" She approached cautiously, the beam revealing horror. A body, or what was left of it, sprawled amid the tatters. The man's head was gone, ripped clean off at the neck. jagged vertebrae exposed like broken porcelain. His torso was mauled, ribs cracked open, chunks of flesh missing from his gut and thighs. Entrails trailed into the dirt, buzzing with early flies despite the cold. Blood pooled black under the moonlight, the air thick with coppery tang of death and the sour reek of urine from his final terror. Claire gagged, stumbling back. "Oh, God, no!" Her mind raced. Bear? Wolf? But before she could process, a thunderous crash erupted from the woods. Branches snapped like gunfire as the grizzly exploded into the clearing, eyes gleaming with feral rage. It was enormous, over 600 pounds of muscle and fury, lips curled back over blood-stained teeth. She turned to run, but it was too fast. The bear slammed into her like a freight train, its paw swiping her backpack and sending her sprawling. Pain laced through her side as claws raked her jacket, tearing leather and drawing blood. Claire hit the ground hard, wind knocked out, the beast's weight pressing down. It ravaged her, jaws snapping at her arm, teeth sinking into her shoulder. She screamed, fire blooming where flesh tore, hot blood soaking her shirt. The grizzly's breath was a nightmare, fetid and close, its claws digging into her thighs as it tried to flip her over. Adrenaline surged. With a desperate twist, Claire kicked free, scrambling to her feet. Her left arm hung limp, shredded and throbbing, but she was alive. The bear paused, snorting, its attention shifting back to the homeless man's corpse. Protective instinct kicked in. It lumbered toward the kill, growling low, guarding its prize. Claire's hand trembled as she reached into her torn backpack. The Glock 17 was there, cold and reassuring. She yanked it out, pointed it at the bear. "You bastard!" she whispered, voice hoarse. The bear turned, about to charge again, and Claire fired. Pop, pop, pop. The 9mm rounds echoing like thunder. The first hit its shoulder, jerking it sideways. She emptied the magazine. 17 shots in rapid succession. Bullets punching into fur and flesh. The grizzly roared, staggering. Blood sprayed from its chest and neck. One round shattered its jaw, another piercing an eye. It lurched forward, momentum carrying it, before collapsing in a heap atop the dead man's body. Steam rose from the wounds, coiling into the night air like ghostly exhales, the heat of fresh death mingling with the cold. Claire slumped against a tree, gun smoking in her hand, sobs racking her body. The pandemic world felt distant now, replaced by survival. She bandaged her wounds as best she could, the silence broken only by her ragged breaths. In the morning, she'd limp back to her bike, report the nightmare. But tonight, in the heart of the wild, she was alone with the dead.